This is part 2 of our 7-part series, What Women Really Need to Know About Social Security. Welcome back. I'm your host, Burt Williamson, the retirement strategist at Plan Prep. Before we go any further, do me a favor, please, and pause the video and read this important disclosure. Great, so let's move on. In our last video, we talked about the foundational information that's important. What we're going to talk about today is some important history that most people do not know, and that will lead into whether or not Social Security could go away in the following video. Then we'll follow up with talking about your filing status, traps to avoid, strategies to consider, and our valuable gift that you'll certainly want to take advantage of. A lot of people did not know that a woman named Frances Perkins became the first female cabinet member in U.S. history in 1933. She served as the Secretary of Labor. Now, Ms. Perkins was a major proponent for the creation of Social Security, as well as the minimum wage and child labor laws. In 1935, President Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act into law after it received an overwhelming majority of favorable votes in both the House and the Senate. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, that when Social Security started, the tax was only 1% of wages. It increased to 1.5% in 1950, 5% in 1978, and then 6.2% ever since 1990. So up until that point, they were increasing the taxes to keep up with the fact that there were fewer workers for the number of recipients. Now, when we look at the cost of living increases, recently we had an increase of 8.7% in 2022. Then the 2023 number was 3.2%. A lot of people don't realize this, but we've had 16 years since the year 2000 where the cost of living increases were less than 3% a year. And 3 of the years since 2000 had no increase whatsoever. Let's compare that to when Ronald Reagan took office. Now, nobody could have predicted the impact of the crazy high inflation that was ignited in the 1970s. That led to some crazy increases in Social Security checks right before Ronald Reagan took office. They had a serious crisis on their hands, and that's what Ronald Reagan inherited as president. Now, bad news isn't new. In 1980, the Retirement Trust Fund was projected to run out of money by the end of 1983. They had less than 3 years to try and fix the problem. So President Reagan, who took office in 1981, gave an executive order and had Alan Greenspan appointed as chairman of the commission to study possible solutions to the short-term crisis. And guess what? They found short and long-term problems. Now, this commission came up with the findings, not Congress and not the president. So that made it a little easier for the government to come up with a solution. They had a temporary fix, then permanent laws followed, and tax on your benefits was one of those permanent law changes. So let's fast forward to the 2016 trustee report. What you'll see here is that everything above this red line is desirable and everything below it is not. So here in this red oval, that's all the stuff going on below the red line in the early 1980s. The Health Insurance Trust Fund, the Retirement Trust Fund, the Disability Trust Fund, all in serious trouble. With the tax law changes by the year 2000, they were all heading in the right direction. So it did take a little bit of time, but they did get things going in the right direction. You'll see here in 2016, they were predicting that all 3 trust funds would run out of money between 2023 and 2035. When we fast forward a few more years to 2023, and you'll see everything to the left is history. Those lines are not much different than they were in 2016. And everything to the right of that is a projection. So the Medicare and retirement trust funds are still expected to run out in the next 10 years. But magically, the Disability Trust Fund is going to last into the next century. Well, it's not clear from the trustees report, but perhaps seeing how money moves around in Washington, D.C. will shed a little light on this. This report from the Treasury Department gives you an idea as to how the government shuffles money around. So if we look here, and we're not going to explain the whole thing, but just so you can see money being borrowed, paid back, interest charged and credited, and being available for different accounts to be able to pay money out as needed. Even the Treasury Department says in this report that they don't fully understand how it all works. Which card is the trust fund money under? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Just keep this in mind while you watch the next video. So we've covered some really important stuff in the foundation and the history. Next, we're going to get into whether Social Security could actually go away. Then we'll talk about the filing status as it applies to women, some traps to avoid that could cost you a lot of money, some strategies, and a valuable gift that could be worth a lot of money to you, so please stick around and watch the rest of these videos. Thank you for watching. I'm Burt Williamson with Plan Prep. Tune in to the next video and make it a great day.